We are here at the Marbella Golf Club, where I have the pleasure of talking to Her Majesty's British Ambassador to Spain, Simon Manley, about the effects of Brexit to British businesses and citizens in Spain. Ambassador, many British citizens living in Spain are concerned that after the UK leaves the EU, they will lose their existing rights that they enjoy. What do you have to say to them to allay their fears?
I understand the concerns that British citizens have here living in Spain. We're obviously living through a period of uncertainty. I think the first thing to say is nothing has changed as of now. So I think the message that I try to convey, and indeed the Spanish government, national and regional, tries to convey, is a message of tranquility. Nothing's going to change now, nothing's going to change during the process of negotiation which will ensue once we've written our Article 50 letter before the end of March. So for a period of 2 years or so, nothing's going to change. And we'll, of course, work with our European partners to try and ensure that we get the best deal possible for Brits living here in Spain. And indeed, we've said, Prime Minister has said, and I'll say again, that we're ready to do a deal right now, right here, today, this afternoon, even here in Marbella, with our European partners to recognise the rights of European citizens living in the UK and British citizens living in the other member states of the European Union.
Do you believe that British citizens living in Spain will continue to enjoy access to Spanish healthcare and that their pensions will be maintained at the same level as pensioners in the UK after Brexit?
I recognise the concerns that Brits living here in Spain have about healthcare, have about pensions. We've been trying to capture in the course of our conversations with expats and expat groups here in Spain the concerns that they have, to understand those concerns and to offer to London our best sense of what the issues are for Brits living here in Spain. I very much hope, of course, that their rights to healthcare and pensions will be safeguarded. We have to see. It's a negotiation. It's not just for the UK to decide. We can come up with whatever position we want, but we have to then negotiate that with the European Union, and the European Union has to decide its position among the 27 member states.
There is concern that British citizens will end up paying more Spanish inheritance tax and non-resident income tax on Spanish property. What would you say to those British citizens?
Of course, we've just entered into a new tax agreement with Spain, bilateral tax agreement, which provides clarity on some points as it is of now. Because again, we don't quite know what's going to be at the end of the process. I think the big thing I always say about tax is, for goodness sake, have a look at what it says on the government.uk websites about tax. And if you're unsure, consult a specialist. It's a really important issue and you don't want to be caught out in the wrong.
There has been talk that in order to live in Spain or to visit the Spain, visa system will be required. Do you anticipate such a system being implemented?
Look, I think both Spain and the UK have a real interest in ensuring that people are able to visit, study and work in each other's countries. We have something like 9,000 young Spaniards studying in our universities. We have 130,000 Spaniards living in the UK. We have more than 300,000 Brits living here. We had almost 18 million British tourists here in Spain last year, contributing over 1.5% of Spanish GDP, almost as much as Spain earned in terms of exports of goods to the UK last year. So that matters enormously to both countries, and I very much hope that travel between our two countries will continue to be easy and hassle-free for everybody concerned.
What other changes do you envisage for British citizens living in Spain after Brexit?
To be honest, we don't yet know. And I think we have to be honest about the fact we don't have answers to many of the detailed questions that people have. I think it's really important that people, whether they be individuals here living in Spain or businesses, whether they be Spanish businesses doing business with or investing in the UK, or British businesses exporting to or investing in Spain, that they come and talk to us. My commitment to people, whether they be Brits living here or businesses, is that we'll listen to their concerns, we'll translate those concerns to our colleagues in London, and we'll ensure that those concerns are reflected in the negotiating positions that we have with our European partners. We know things are not going to be the same at the end of this process. We are leaving the European Union. We have said that we recognise, given the position of our European partners, that if we want to have a national migration policy, if we want to decide for ourselves who is going to enter and leave the United Kingdom, then we can't be a member of the single market. We've said there's going to have to be changes to the customs union arrangement that we have currently as a member of the European Union if we want to negotiate free trade agreements with states like the United States or China or Australia or New Zealand. We recognise those realities of the European political context in which we're working. So things will be different. What we don't know right now, and I don't want to give either false promise or false hope, is what exactly the situation will be at the end of this process. But we want to have as full and constructive a relationship with the European Union as possible. We want to have as free a flow of business between our two countries as possible. We want to ensure that people who want to go and study in each other's countries, work in each other's countries, are free and able to do so.
How do you think British businesses invested in Spain will be affected after Brexit? What about Spanish businesses investing in the UK?
The first thing to say is that we have the most extraordinary commercial relationship between our two countries. 46 billion euro commercial relationship, 46 billion euros in bilateral trade of goods and services each year. The UK, the principal European destination for Spanish investment overseas. The UK, the third largest investor in Spain. Hundreds of thousands of jobs in each other's countries dependent upon it. Some of, whether you're looking at British airports, telecommunications or our banks, Spanish firms play a vital role in our economy, and we're really proud of the role they play. And what we want to ensure, and what I've said to each and every one of those businesses, chairman, chief execs of those IBEX 35 companies, is that we want to create the conditions in which those businesses in the UK, those investments, can continue to grow in the years ahead. And I hope that's my message too to the Spanish government, the national and regional level, is that I want to see British investment in Spain continuing to grow over the years to come. What we have to work as the UK, but also as Spain, and I think I hope that's the attitude the Spanish government's going to, with which it's going to enter these negotiations. And from what I hear from Prime Minister Rajoy and from his ministers, I think is positive in that respect, is that we need to work together to ensure the agreement that we reach doesn't create unnecessary new barriers to trade and investment between our two countries, because the commercial relationship is too important for that, the jobs it creates is too important for that, the prosperity it fosters is too important for that.
What kind of system of movement of employees do you anticipate will be introduced?
We don't know the details of what system there will be to move people between the two countries or between people working for the same company in the two countries. But again, we know that some of our largest investors, whether they be British investors here or Spanish investors in the UK, need to move their most highly skilled, most valued staff between the UK and Spain, and indeed between the UK and Spain and other destinations for their overseas operations across the world. And we want to enable that. We want the United Kingdom to be the easiest place in the world to create and grow a business, whether it be British made or foreign invested. And we will do everything in our power to ensure that we are the best place in the world to do business.
Will British companies be treated the same as companies of other EU countries?
We have to see what the conditions are going to be for British companies here. They clearly won't be European companies in the same way as they are today. We'll have different rules will have to be in place. But as a country, we believe fundamentally in the value of free trade, and we believe fundamentally that businesses create the wealth that our societies need. So what we want are arrangements which foster that enable the extraordinary bilateral trade between our two countries to continue to grow and for businesses to continue to prosper in the years ahead.
It seems that the UK will leave the single market. What are the possibilities that the country will remain in the customs union after the EU?
I think the Prime Minister said that there are various options on the table in regards to the customs union. There are important issues there, not just for business, but also in terms of for example, of our bilateral relationship with Ireland at play in that area. So we're looking at the solutions that are available. And again, this is going to be something that's going to have to be negotiated between the UK and our European partners. But what we don't want to create is a situation where there are more obstacles to trade, bureaucratic obstacles that hold up trade and commerce between our two nations and within companies operating in the two jurisdictions.
Are British businesses establishing operations in Europe to mitigate Brexit? Is Spain an attractive destination for those companies?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of talk in the press about whether British companies or other international companies based in the UK are looking at relocating some of their business or not. On the other hand, there's a lot of news in the press about a whole series of top international companies who've decided just over the last few months since the referendum to increase their presence in the UK. Companies like Snapchat, Google, Facebook, Apple, the leading technological companies in the world who are investing more in the UK. GlaxoSmithKline investing more in the UK. So I'm sure companies are looking at how they can manage the uncertainties around this process. And of course in that, Spain's an attractive place to invest. We see it in that story of British investment here in Spain. That's why we are the third largest investor. But I'm also really confident about the future of the UK as a place to do business because of our determination to ensure that we're the easiest place to do business in the world, because of the quality of our creativity and our innovation for the world's top 10 universities, 18 of the world's top 100 universities, because of the collaborations we have between universities, government and business, because of the conditions that we've created at a fiscal level and elsewhere so as to ensure that innovation and creativity is rewarded, to ensure that businesses that create new products and services can have them protected as they grow, and ensuring that we have the right fiscal regime so as to attract the best, the brightest people and the best companies across the world.
What sectors will be affected most by Brexit, and where do you believe that there will be opportunities in the coming years?
I think sectors are going to be affected by Brexit in different sorts of ways. Of course, again, it depends upon the outcome of the negotiations, but I suppose it's fair to say that those sectors which are most concerned by the current uncertainties are those which have the most sophisticated supply chains. And I think it's really important that the governments of the European Union and the negotiators for the two sides recognise the complexities of those supply chains and work to ensure that we can maintain the competitiveness not just of British business or Spanish business, because these are European businesses. In industries like pharmaceuticals or car manufacturing, it's vital that we enable the free flow of goods and services between member states of the European Union and indeed between member states of the European Union and the UK, so as to maintain the international competitiveness of those companies in the face of the global challenges that we face. We don't have the luxury of erecting new barriers to trade.
Do you envisage that the British tourists will spend more or less this year in Spain?
I expect that tourism will increase this year. I mean, last year, 2017, just seen this morning the latest figures, extraordinary figures, almost 18 million British tourists visiting Spain, spending over 16 billion euros here. That's about 1.5% of Spanish GDP. It's more, or almost as much as the total Spanish export of goods to the UK last year. That's an enormous slice of the Spanish economy. And it's a success because of the security of tourism in Spain, faced with the insecurity in some other tourist destinations, but it's also because of the quality of the offer here in Spain to British tourists. And of course, it's also because of the place that Spain holds in the heart of the British. Those millions of people come here, and they come here year after year because they love coming to Spain. They love its welcome, they love its food, they love its beaches, they love its mountains, they love its cities, they love its food and culture, and of course, some of them even love its football.
What are the UK's priorities for business in the EU negotiations?
Our priority for business is to ensure that business can get on with the business of creating jobs, creating wealth, that we don't set up new obstacles to doing business between the UK and the countries of the European Union, that we enable businesses to flourish, that we show by word and deed that we believe that free trade is the most liberating force in global economics, that it's through free trade that we drive up productivity, that we increase the wealth of our societies and create the sort of countries and the sort of European Union that we want to see in the future.
Ambassador, thank you very much. Muchas gracias.